Well, for more on Pakistan's economy, I spoke with Masood Ahmed, president of the Center for Global Development. I began by asking him about the growth factors driving the Pakistani economy.
It's a young and vibrant population. It's starting from a relatively low income base, so there's always an opportunity for catching up with other countries. It's in a region, Asia, which is going to be growing and booming. In addition to that, it's had 4 years of an effort to try and stabilize the economy, put in place some better policies. It's dealt with what was a big problem, which was energy shortages, and also with issues relating to security and violence and terrorism.
Now, along with that growing population that we mentioned, that means that there are going to be jobs needed for them. So we have the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor as part of the One Belt, One Road initiative. How do you see that playing into both the jobs picture and the economy overall in Pakistan?
I think the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor really potential for being a transformative factor in Pakistan's growth. Here's $45 billion or so worth of investment in an economy that's about 280 billion. So it's a big number. Even if it comes in over a number of years, it's going to create opportunities in the construction phase, but more importantly, it's going to enable Pakistan to join up with the rest of the world in ways that are more effective. But to take advantage of this infrastructure, Pakistan is going to have to make sure that they have in place a better business environment so that firms can set up and do business more effectively, more cheaply, and a more skilled labor force. You must remember that a country like Pakistan, still almost 30% of the people are below the poverty line. Large numbers of children are still out of school, so improving education, improving and uplifting living standards is both going to drive growth and be a beneficiary of growth.
Now, let's also look at the issue of security. We know that there tends to be this narrative that Pakistan continues to be unstable because of terrorism. But what's the whole picture?
Terrorism clearly has been an issue in Pakistan, and it has contributed not only to investor insecurity, but to insecurity in the lives of people who live there. Remember, thousands of people have been killed because of terrorism. However, if you look at the numbers show that there has been a marked improvement in controlling and bringing that into smaller numbers. So today, the level of terrorist incidents is much lower than it was a year ago. That itself was lower than a year before that. So the situation is improving. It's still an issue, but it's much less of an issue than it used to be.
Now, let's also look at the issue of aid. How will the potential reduction of aid from the US affect the economy there?
Aid to Pakistan is relatively small when you compare that to other factors like remittance flows, which are, remittance flows are close to $20 billion, and aid runs into the single-digit low billions of dollars. If you look at private investment possibilities, it's going to be much larger. So if there's a slowdown in aid, there are ways to compensate for it. But the most important way to compensate for it is to grow the economy, increase exports. If there is one area of vulnerability in Pakistan's economy, in the outlook, it's that exports, instead of continuing to grow with the economy, have actually been stagnating. And that means that there's a growing gap between what they import, what they export. That's made up a little bit by remittances, but over time, increasing exports from about 22 billion to probably double that is what you would expect for a dynamic emerging market.
And speaking of dynamic, we see this rise in Pakistan's middle class. What's behind the success there?
The growth, for a start, the fact the economy has been growing at 5%, the fact that they've begun to get to grips with some of the issues around energy shortages, which stop businesses, which is a lot of middle classes coming from those businesses. They can function better now. Remittance flows, another big factor in improving living standards, in generating that middle class. So all of those factors coming together are driving the growth of the middle class. Middle class, still a few million people in a country of, which is close to 180 million people. So remember, it's a small proportion of the total, but still, it is a growing factor, and it's what's driving a lot of what you see in terms of construction, in terms of demand for durable goods, in terms of service demand in the economy.